Okay, so this is a continuation meeting. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to end up having two recordings for this week. So we make sure that we get everything in. So I'm going to pick up from where I left off at. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, there we go. All right, everybody good? You got me now? Okay, good. Now, let me see if I can get this O.J. Simpson thing. That's what started it when I was trying to minimize to get that. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Okay, can everybody see this? Oh, that's because I'm not sharing it. Okay, I gotta share it. Okay, this is really getting crazy. Shouldn't be black now. All right, you can see, and start my video. Okay, now you can see me. Can you see me now? Everybody can see me? Okay, good. All right, so now let me try to share this thing here again. Trying to share the okay, you can see that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just talk about the O.J. Simpson thing, and then I'm going to send it to you a little later. So then I'll send it to you in an email because I see what's happening here. I see the problem that I'm running into. Well, let me talk about the O.J. Simpson case a little bit. As you should be aware, O.J. Simpson was charged with killing his ex-wife and his and her boyfriend. This was back in 94. And what happened is that the trial was on television. It's one of the most publicized um, trials, or they call it the trial of the century. And the entire trial was broadcast throughout the news. And I actually did reports for 4 radio stations locally where I talked about the O.J. Simpson case and did a daily report on it. And one of the features that you should be aware of is that the jurors that were in the case were sequestered. They were sequestered so that they would not be tampered with. We talked about jury sequestration previously. And so when a jury is sequestered, the jury is kept away from the media and things that they can read were screened and all those different things. So the media coverage of the O.J. Simpson case before the trial didn't really, you'll see, did not have effect on the actual trial itself. And the reason why it did not is because of the fact that the jurors were sequestered. Because there were things that came out earlier, before the trial, with the pre-trial information before the jury was even selected, like the chase that was involved and all of the bits of information that you'll see that the media reported on a daily basis. But once the case went to trial, there were things that happened. And the question about evidence and how important evidence is, this is really the reason why O.J. Simpson was acquitted, is because the LAPD did a terrible job of preserving the evidence. For example, there was Detective Van Natter, and again, I'm going to send you information that's written out that you'll be able to see for yourself. And Detective Van Natter took some tennis shoes from the scene, and he took the tennis shoes and put them in the trunk of his car. And so the normal thing that you want to try to do is protect the chain of custody of those items before they're turned in and then tagged, and then next time they're brought out, if they're used for testing, they have to log in, log out, and then when they finally get to the court and possibly used as an exhibit. But what he did, he took the shoes, put them in the trunk of his car, and ended up taking his car home for the weekend. And that created a chain of custody issue. This was brought out as evidence in the trial itself, and one of the key things that came out. One of the other things that many of you are familiar with is the old phrase that Johnny Cochran, who I had a chance to get to meet 10 years before the O.J. Simpson case, but then I met him again after the O.J. Simpson case when he came to Chicago and talked a little bit about the case. The truth of the matter is that you remember the famous "if the glove don't fit, you must acquit." Any of you guys ever heard that phrase before? Yeah, that was a famous line. But what happened, if you really looked at the video carefully? Number one, the glove had been dipped in blood and stuff like that, and they couldn't tie the blood. There was no blood from OJ. There Yeah, that was the line. And so if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Well, that was a nice picture for the jury that when OJ tried to put the glove on, he could put the glove on. But anyway, the glove was a leather glove. Does anybody know what happens to leather when it gets wet with any kind of liquid? Yep, it shrinks. And that's exactly what happened. The glove shrunk. In addition to that, when you're putting on a glove that supposedly contains blood and you don't want it to hit your skin, you're going to wear a surgical glove, like a lot of the ones that people are using for the pandemic now. And you're going to put that glove on and then put the glove on that shrunk on it. So that the natural thing is it would not fit. It wouldn't fit OJ. So the graphic of seeing that was in the minds of jurors. And unfortunately, the prosecution did not come back and try to talk about in enough detail. They tried to talk a little bit about it, about the glove not fitting for obvious reasons. But that was not a tactic. That was something that the jurors saw, and the prosecution fumbled the ball on that. Another point that the prosecution fumbled the ball was they put on Detective, shoot, his name escaping me. He turned out to be a racist cop. I know his name, and I just can't call it from the top of my head, but you'll see it in the materials. Anyway, they had a really powerful team of lawyers that were representing O.J. Simpson, um, and F. Lee Bailey, a famous criminal defense lawyer from Boston. They had scientific people that were involved in there. They had, of course, Johnny. And did you guys know that uh, Robert Kardashian? Do you know that name? Yeah, the famous Kardashians. Their dad was the criminal defense lawyer. And if you ever look at pictures of the final verdict and the decision, and you see O.J. Simpson, um, the expression, and his attorney with the glasses on in the picture, that's Robert Kardashian. And yes, he's the dad for the Kardashian family. That's how they got their money originally, because he was such a popular lawyer. And so what happened is that um, the um, the uh, the police officer, whose name is escaping me right now, and when he testified, uh, he was asked, um, had he ever used uh, the N word against African Americans, and I got to tell you, detective. In word detective. Oh, I just came back to me. Mark Furman. Mark Furman. That was his name. That was his name. And he was the one who testified in court that he had never used the N word. And they asked him, did he ever use it in life? And he said no. Whoa, boy, did the prosecution mess up with that one, because the defense attorney came back. Well, actually, it was Mark Furman who was questioned by cross-examination by F. Lee Bailey, and they thought it would be better to have him do it than to have Johnny do it. And so F. Lee Bailey asked a question, and several times, and Mark Furman says, "No, I don't do that. I wouldn't do that kind of thing." Well, as it turned out, not only did they bring back witnesses and evidence and proving that he had used it numerous times, but they also brought back evidence that was played, eventually the jury heard, of him using the word in some of his prior police cases. So it was a real debacle from what the evidence was. Now, uh, it is so important that you understand that a lot of people think that it was the media coverage, but not really. Not really, because if it was the media coverage, this would have went the other way, and that OJ would have been found guilty. Now, some people said, "Oh yeah, but OJ was found guilty." I said, "No, he was found not guilty in the criminal case, which was by um, beyond a reasonable doubt. But then he was later tried again, and he was tried on the civil side because he tried to steal some of his stuff. He went to jail for that. But the family of his his ex-wife filed a civil suit for wrongful death, and so a civil jury found that OJ was guilty, and then that they ended up going after him for his finances and everything like that. And so you should be aware of the fact that one of the most important things that happen in these cases is exactly how they come out. Okay, now, like, here's a little bit. Here's a little bit. This is not much of it, but this is some. This is some of it. This is just a little bit of it, but what I'm going to give you is more detailed. Detective Van Adder, um, and they talk about an interrogation by Philip Van Adder and Thomas Lang, two police officers. And when you get through reading this, and I'm not going to read the whole thing with you, you will see that they really goofed up in terms of what they were doing and how they asked the questions. So I'm not gonna give you this whole thing, but take a look at this, and you'll see it supports the things that I just said a few minutes ago. The point of the matter is that the individual is entitled to a fair trial, but in this case, unfortunately, the police tipped their hands too much in determining that they wanted to convict this guy. They wanted to get him. They wanted to nail OJ. And that was how they really seriously uh, goofed up. And so when you look at this and you look at the stuff that I'm going to send you, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about in terms of how important it is. So it is quite clear that the media coverage does have an effect upon um, individuals who are on trial. And when those individuals are on trial and they are put before the trier of fact, the information that's gathered before trial can create a problem. Like we talked about this last week concerning the George Floyd case and these four police officers and the question, where can they get a fair trial? Well, the point of the matter is that one of the key bits of evidence was something that is public. It wasn't the media. It was a public video, a video that an individual made that they gave to the media and the media shared. And so that's a powerful, powerful, powerful exhibit there. Now, uh, do you think that just based upon that video, that there are going to be people who will reach a conclusion that that police officer was guilty of murdering George Floyd? Do any of you guys think that? Seeing that video many times? Hmm. Yeah. And so the point of the matter is that if you're in the position as a defense attorney, I wouldn't want to be in defense attorney shoes here. Um, what you're going to probably end up finding yourself doing in a situation like that is trying to work a deal, or as we call it, a 402 conference in our state, or a pretrial conference, or either end up in plea bargaining. So you're going to be stuck in a situation like that because this is not something that the media conjured up. The media did their due diligence and responsibility and reported it. Now, what may happen is that there are individuals who become jurors, and I predict that this would probably be tried in a jury. I don't know. Maybe they might decide to go with a judge, but I wouldn't want to be the judge to find not guilty in a situation like this because your career is over. But the point of the matter is that it's a real issue that has to do with whether or not these individuals will be able to get a fair trial. Because inevitably, you do know, and I know, that one of the exhibits that's going to be introduced in that trial will be that video. So anyway, let's back up a little bit, back away from the OJ case and the George Floyd case, and let's take a look at what they're saying here. Now, does anybody know anything about Joan Benet Ramsey. Does anybody know that? Know anything about that? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Most people at this time might not. Well, the truth of the matter is Joan Benet Ramsey was a little girl who was sexually assaulted and murdered, and uh, the her parents allege that something had happened to her and that they knew nothing about it. But later on, uh, the suspicion came rightfully to the parents. And what these parents used to do with her is that they would allow her to be dressed in um, clothing or attire that was not befitting of a young child. And so what the media did was they kept pushing the information, and as the investigation unraveled, and it eventually pointed to her parents. And so eventually it came down to a time for um, the determination about what they were going to do. And so when you get to that point, you'll see then this information, and I'm getting ready to tell you. Here it is right here. Okay. So when she was killed at the age of 6, and there was a ransom note that was presented to make it seem as if um, her dad and mom were, um, they were going to have to pay somebody. So then the question of what happened with them is really never really has been clarified, because it was such a mystery, and even to this day it's still not solved because no one has been charged with the crime. Her early suspicion, as I said earlier, fell on her parents, but DNA at the scene um, was found to belong to a male that was unrelated to the family. And so that just kind of left a whole lot of openings there. So it's it's something. And actually, her parents, I know her mom died in 2006. I don't remember what happened with her dad. Um, yeah, I don't remember what happened with her dad, but I do know that her mom died um, in 2006. So the point of the matter is this, is that what the media was doing, media was heavily, heavily involved um, with this. So what made Joan Benet Ramsey a household name was not the trial, because it never happened. What made Joan Benet Ramsey a household name was the information that the media put out there concerning what happened to Joan. Uh, and then the, the sad part was, again, with her parents being the one is that you should be aware is that the media can tamper a case. Sam Shepard, I referred to the Sam Shepard case, in one of my discussion posts. If you take a look at that, where Sam Shepard was charged with killing his wife. And when he was charged with killing his wife, um, the media turned into a circus at his house. And when it came time for trial, he wasn't able to get a fair trial, and he was acquitted because of that. So you can take a look at that. That's an older one, and so the key thing is that the media has a whole lot of power. Um, Says here that celebrity status has an impact on the media, and media has an impact on celebrity status. And so the key thing is that it equates to dollars for advertisers and things like that. And so that's how the media can affect it in terms of the rights of individual. People want to know about what's going on with um, celebrities, high profile people, and so forth. Check this article out when you get a chance to in the Indiana Law Journal. It's a very good article about the standard that professional athletes are held to a higher standard. One of the reasons is, as I used to share with my clients when I worked with professional athletes, I used to remind them, I say, hey guys, I says, you are role models, and then those kinds of things, uh, you know, to hold them to high standards and so forth. So anyway, I guess that what I will say here at the end is that everybody should have a fair trial, regardless. It doesn't matter how well known you are, and that the media should be kept at abeyance. And like, for example, when you look at the Casey Anthony case, oh my God, when you look at that one, you'll see it was just it's ridiculous. So says my bandwidth is low. I don't know why. I'm looking at here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Everybody can hear me? Okay. Peer leader, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? I don't know what's going on with something's going on with the WebEx system, and that happened with another lecture that I had the other day. So I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, the key thing is that the media can have an effect because of the fact that we're daily reporting now, and many cases now are reported on television. So the key thing is that we have to make sure that even though individuals are celebrities, and I'm going to stop sharing, maybe that'll help. And so, you know, all right, you can hear me now. Yeah, it must have been, it's something going on with the screen sharing and WebEx. I don't know what it is. But anyway, so anyway, um, I'm going to send you the OJ Simpson information. Sorry about what happened earlier, trying to get that on there, but it is very, very important for you to understand that individuals, whether they're multimillionaires, uh, and you know, a lot of people thought this too, that because OJ Simpson had the dream team, spent a lot of money, and had individuals, he had forensic people there that you will be able to discover that actually were well prepared scientifically. The key thing is that if law enforcement had done their job well in this case, O.J. Simpson would not have been acquitted of the murder. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Okay, so Anybody have any suggestions for the key phrase for this week? That's a good one. That's not it. Anybody else? Very good, Adam. Fair trial. Fair trial. Guys, give it to me. Give it to me. 'Cause that's the essence of the whole lecture and the whole week that you're working on. Fair trial. Give me that and you will have your points. Anybody have any questions at this point about anything that relates to any assignments from week 2 that you might have had? All good? Okay. Well, I do hope that in the future that this WebEx situation will be resolved so we can get this thing straight. Because what I was trying to do normally would work, but I see that there were some issues when we were doing my screen share, and that's where we run into problems with you hearing me. So, okay, I'm going to say good night to you guys, and I will see you guys next week, and I'm going to do a little grading and upload this video. Be aware that you might see 2 videos tonight that'll come. That'll be for this week. And the second one is the one, of course, that's going to have the key phrase in it. But the first part, I'll have that in there also. So I'll have to put 2 up to make sure that everybody gets everything that happened tonight. All right. Take care. I'll see you next week. I'm going to end this meeting at this time.